I would say, well, A, go all in. That's number one. I'm going to give you three, and I know you said one, but it's really a formula for success. Go all in. Make sure that you have full belief that you can do it, and enjoy the journey or find joy in the moment while you're doing it. I've found that to be the successful formula in the companies that have succeeded. When you truly go all in, you believe you can do it, and you find joy, no matter how hard it is, because startups can be tough. Find joy in your journey, because those are the things you'll look back on and go, wow, that sucked. And, at the same time, it was some of my favorite memories.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Jam Ryerson, and I probably messed up the name, but Jamie or JM started his journey. Did a lot of sports in high school. Loved sports, but especially basketball. That kind of reached more of a conclusion as he hurt his knee and had to have surgery. Did go off to community college out of high school and did, I think, some swimming and basketball, but I'll have to confirm. But then had another knee surgery in college. After that, studied in the Netherlands for a bit, and then came back to the U.S. and graduated. And then did some traveling after graduation for a while, and then went to work for Rent-A-Car for a few years, and then went on to build a few businesses. Sold the previous business, and then is currently focused on the current business. So, with that much as introduction, welcome on the podcast, Jam.
Hey, thanks for having me, Devin. I appreciate it. Yeah, man, it's you're taking me back to some crazy and chaotic and fun times all at the same time.
Hey, always fun to have a bit of a stroll down memory lane, and kind of with that, I gave a very quick overview to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack this a little bit? Tell us a little bit about how your journey got started in high school, or doing a lot of different sports.
Yeah, man. I mean, I grew up playing virtually every sport you can think of: football, baseball, basketball, soccer, swimming. The only one I probably didn't play was hockey. Basketball was my passion. It was my dream. You couldn't convince me I wasn't going to play in the NBA, even after two knee surgeries in high school. And as you mentioned, having a third knee surgery, playing college basketball as well. Swimming actually was my best sport. I had a full ride to name a Pac-12 now school, and I could have done that, but I didn't love it, man. And so I actually, as you said, you mentioned I went and played at a junior college, and not, I put myself in my parents' shoes. A full ride to these highly, accredited schools, or basically, this junior college that's going to pay for your books. What do you choose? I chose the junior college in basketball because I was passionate about it. And so I ended up blowing out my knee again, and essentially kind of wrapped up my sports career. As you mentioned, after that, I ended up going over to the University of Montana, and then I studied abroad in the Netherlands, which, if anybody's listening, you have kids, if they're not playing sports, I highly, highly advise you let your kids go study abroad, because it's such an incredible way to learn about yourself. Upon getting
Now,
back,
one
I
just
actually,
yeah, one quick follow up to that. So you said that you had, you went off to community college. I certainly think that makes sense. You have a full ride, so to speak, or pay for your books, pay for your tuition, and gives you a great opportunity. So now, you had your injury during college, and you had the surgery. Walk us through kind of as you're doing that. Was it just simply, hey, I'm injured, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to go off and go to the Netherlands and take a break? Or how did you come to that conclusion, kind of, if sports had been a big part of what you're doing for a considerable amount of time, what you were going to do after the injury?
yeah, I mean, I would say it was called an identity crisis, man. I've been an athlete my entire life, where, it's JM, the basketball guy, or football or soccer or swimming. And so when I didn't have that, I started thinking about, oh, who am I really? And this was a big question for a 20-year-old at the time. And being that I was going to be just a normal student, I thought, what can you do that I couldn't do as an athlete? And study abroad immediately was like, go explore the world. You're no longer the athlete. You have way more time on your hands than you ever have. And it was one of the best things that could have happened to me, Devin. Of course, I don't wish an injury on anyone, and certainly I didn't love that my basketball career was done. But to be able to go study abroad, learn another culture, get to cruise all through Europe, it was a really profound experience for me at a pretty young age.
No, it sounds like it was a great opportunity, good direction to kind of switch things up a bit as you're, kind of figuring out what you're going to do next. Now, you do that. How long were you in the Netherlands for? How long did you study abroad?
It was about 10 months, and I think it was supposed to be about a year, but my grandfather at the time had a heart attack, cancer, and stroke all within a year, and we were very close. So I cut it a little short, went back, but I did, a couple semesters. And what's crazy, brother, about the entire story, when I got back my senior, it would have been, the latter part of my senior year, I ended up graduating with 2 degrees in 4 years. And what's crazy about that is I went to 3 schools in those 4 years. Normally, that all doesn't transfer, and for whatever reason, it all my credits transferred. Ended up graduating, and so after college, I decided, well, I'm still kind of have that travel bug. That's when I left Montana and ended up in California. And as you said, started into enterprise rent a car, and then the rest of the journey went from there.
Now, just to rewind a little bit, when you were getting you mentioned you got a couple of different degrees. What were the different degrees that you got?
Communications and psychology. Communications I knew was something I wanted to do. And I guess that's what I've ended up doing the rest of my life. But psychology, what happened is when I ended up studying over there, the whole program was in psychology. And normally not all of your credits transfer, but again, stroke of luck or whatever it was, every single one of my credits transferred. And the other thing that happened is my college coach required us to take 20 units a semester. And for an athlete, that's for a normal student, that's a lot. But his philosophy was you need to stay out of trouble. So if we're doing school, lifting, doing basketball, and you have that much, you don't have any free time to get in trouble. And what I think ultimately happened is it allowed me to graduate with the 2 degrees in 4 years, which again, I love college, so I guess 5 years wouldn't have been bad, but I'm sure my parents didn't mind me being done with it and moving on to my own professional career.
No, I definitely get it. And I ended up getting 4 degrees, and my wife always gives me a hard time that that's 3 degrees too many. And so now it took me about 9 years to get those 4 degrees. So I don't know who comes out ahead, but it sounds like plenty to keep you busy. So now you come out with those degrees. Now, what took you to rent a car, or how did you kind of decide to go in that direction?
I didn't know what I wanted to do ultimately. And I ended up moving to California with my truck and a backpack and just kind of needed to find a job. And one of the things that, if anybody's worked at Enterprise or they recruit heavily, what I learned there was it was kind of an extension of college. It was a bunch of young kids that just graduated, and so you're surrounded by a bunch of people. Now you're busting your butt. I mean, it was like 60 hours a week. You're wearing a suit and you're washing cars. It's not glamorous by any stretch of the imagination, but I will say I learned how to make every mistake under the sun. I learned professionally, they have a tremendous training program. So while it wasn't my dream career, and I think I was there 3.5 years and did the whole management program, I knew at some point I didn't like people telling me where I had to be at a certain time and how much money I could make. And so that's ultimately what took me away from that and into my entrepreneurial career.
No, makes perfect sense. So, say now you were rent a car. How long were you there for?
3.5 years. So I progressed to a manager of, my own store, if you will, is kind of what that was. And yeah, 3.5 years.
So now you're there, 3.5 years, and then I think from there you start kind of going in the direction of doing your own business or kind of going down that route. But maybe walk us through kind of after you've been there for that 3.5 year period, kind of what was the next step on the journey.
Yeah, man, I had planned on actually going to the FBI. Was that's the lineage I come from. My grandfather, my uncle, they were in the FBI, and I always thought that made a ton of sense. And so I was applying for that. But what happened was I was at a wedding, there was a fight, and some of us ended up in jail, which kind of ruins your chances for going into the FBI. Now, no charges ended up sticking, no big deal, but it took me on another path. And so the gentleman that I interviewed with, I was interviewing with a bunch of mortgage was real big at the time, pharmaceutical sales, and then there was this insurance gig. And I really bonded with the gentleman that was interviewing me. And he ended up being a business partner for 17 years, three companies. But I remember his name was Rich. And when I asked him two questions. I said, can I golf on Fridays? And is there any restriction to how much money I can make? No, no. Okay, cool. So I started in. But what happened was he had one location in Sacramento. And I said, Rich, what if you took this nationwide? And he goes, I don't know. I didn't even think about it. He was probably making low seven figures at the time. And I said, brother, you have lightning in a bottle. This thing could go, you could take this everywhere. And he said, all right, well, prove it to me. So I ended up opening our first or second location in Portland, Oregon. And from there, we formed a corporation and started to grow. And so that first company, we grew to 8 locations before we decided to sell that and then grow it to into our second firm. So yeah, man, it was not necessarily what I envisioned in college or as a kid, but it was my first step into being an entrepreneur. And I fell in love with building teams, sales, and leadership, which is ultimately what I do now.
No, sounds awesome. So now you did that. You say you started the initial business. You ended up expanding or spinning out to the second business as well. I think if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a third business in the meantime before you got to the current business. Or walk us through kind of you had those couple businesses and how long did you do those for, and kind of what was the iteration, the evolution?
Yeah, so the first it went sequentially, first, second, and third. Each time looking for something different. So the first company, man, we had this amazing culture. We built young and just hungry. And we built that to 8 locations. And we decided, you know what, we really want to go nationwide. So we ended up selling that and merging with another company. And there was 6 total partners. Now, that company, we crushed it financially, but it was 6 years of absolute torture for me anyway, because the partners, we didn't see eye to eye. There was 3 on one side that were just solely money driven, and then there was 3 of us that were more of a purpose driven thing. So it's not that they're bad people, it just wasn't a good mix. So that ran for just about 6 years. And Rich and I looked at each other and we said, man, let's go build our own again. And as we were about to do that, I knew 2 other founders that I knew in the industry, and they just had this amazing system. And so I said, brother, I think we sell over here, which we did, and let's join forces with these guys. And the third company, it was incredible. I mean, we had gosh, we started in 2014. I finally sold in 2022. So that was an 8 year run. And brother, we crushed it financially. We grew tremendously. It was one of those cultures that you want to be a part of. So that was the third company. And after selling that, then I've been all focused on let's go win. So yeah, that's kind of the entrepreneurial journey. And again, it wasn't the way I planned it, but that's just kind of how it all shook down.
No, sounds awesome. So now, and I think that, kind of as you said, it's not necessarily even the fault of, other business partners. Sometimes you get into the business and it goes different directions, or people have different visions and what they want to do. And, you part ways as you each pursue kind of your own passion and the setup and the arrangement you want to do. So now as you guys said, hey, we're going to kind of go all in or go in that direction. Walk us through kind of how did you get things started? What was how did that go? Was it everything that you envisioned, or kind of what, or walk us through a little bit as to going in that direction, how that led to where things are at today?
Yeah. So, real quick note on the partnership. One thing I would say to any entrepreneur: make sure you are aligned value wise before you partner. And I know that sounds so basic, but I'm telling you, I thought we vetted it out, but we didn't do it enough. So, just anybody listening, if you're ever looking at partnering, make sure your values align 100%. The third company, man, it was so we were going from a lead based company to a more industry specific company, all within financial services. So, the reason I bring that up is when I brought it to my business partner, I'm like, Rich, we're not going to have any more leads anymore. We are solely going to work essentially referral based within the teacher market. And he's like, dude, that's crazy. We can't make it. That doesn't make sense. And I said, do you trust me? He's like, yes, I do. I said, just trust me. This is not only going to work, this is going to thrive. It was the best move we could have made because our overhead went from, I don't know, it was like $400,000 a month of leads to nothing. And the return on, the clients that we were working with was even higher. So it was incredible to find that market and realize we didn't have to be lead dependent. So there was definitely some bumpy road, the first couple of years because you're getting 100 and some odd people that we took to this new company they're used to leads. So that took a little bit of a rewiring of the brain, but I'll tell you what, brother, once they did, it just kept growing. And that company we took from 3 locations to 24 in the first 5 years. So it was just rapid growth. And I have to say, I got to give credit to those folks that were a part of it, that they had a growth mindset and they saw the vision and they were able to execute on it.
No, that's awesome. It sounds like it was a great business, great approach, and provided with a lot of good opportunity now. So with that, as you took that approach, kind of went in a different direction, learned the lesson of, hey, here you got to make sure to have partners that align with your vision and kind of what you're setting out to do. Walk us through how that led to where things are at today, and kind of or kind of catch us up as the present day.
Yeah, so I knew I wrote my first book, Let's Go Win, Keys to Living Your Best Life. I wrote it for my wife and I have 2 sons. And I didn't think much other than just I was writing it for them in case, I passed away. And the gal I was working with said, "Look, you need to share this with more than 2 human beings, or otherwise you're being selfish." So I did. And that ended up bringing me to what Let's Go Win is today, which is we exist to inspire people to live their best lives. But I didn't mean to start a company. That wasn't the intent. I meant to share these lessons with my kids. And once I did, brother, I found really what my purpose was in life. And that is to inspire people to live their best lives. So I knew the third company, I wasn't able to give 100% to it. So I started the process of selling my share of it. And once I did that, it's been going all in on what Let's Go Win is. And there's been several iterations. I was coaching, performance and mindset coach to executives and athletes. And that was cool, man. But I found the one-on-one coaching, it was so time intensive that I decided, you know what? What do I really love doing in business wise? And I love doing sales, leadership, and building teams. It's what I did in financial services. Why not help companies do that now? And that's what I do. I help companies double or triple their revenue in the first year. That's what I've done historically at every company I've been at, doing the same system. And so it's just created what the company is today, which is I help companies double their revenue or triple their revenue in the first year, and it'll continue after that. So it's a win for them. I get a small portion of equity for my piece of doing that job, sales leadership and building teams. And it's a win for me. And it's just been awesome, brother. I've aligned with the people that I truly believe in their vision, where they're going. I get to do what I love doing. and everybody's growing. So it's been a ride, but it's been a heck of a fun one so far.
No, that's awesome. Sounds like it's a great ride, and it's been a good direction to be in, and an ongoing evolution. So kind of catching up to the present day. If you're to now look out and say, okay, then taking the next, 6 to 12 months is kind of as things that continue to evolve and go in there and continue to progress. Where do you kind of see the next 6 to 12 months going for you?
Yeah, I'm clear on that. The next year, it's looking for 6 companies. So I did a search. There's 33.3 million small businesses in the US, which is really who I attract. And I'm only looking for six that I truly align with, that I can partner with and do what I'm great at, help them double their revenue, get my small portion of equity. And so that's what I'm doing there. The other piece in terms of continuing the passion and purpose of Let's Go Win is the mastermind, really creating that and having the community that is getting the value that all the people that are in my life, the amazing marketing firm that I can share, and the tax people, all the people that have been so good to me. I'm really working on curating and creating that community so that everyone else can benefit from it. So there's a lot going on, but I will tell you, there's so much clarity now that I didn't have in the beginning of Let's Go Win, right? I didn't start this company saying this is what it was going to be. I wasn't clear on that. Now I am. And so it's pretty, like you said, the next 12 months, I'm partnering with 6 companies. We're going to go double the revenue. Boom, cool. And we're going to create the community so that others can learn from the journey and really get some of the lessons that Let's Go Win's all about. So it's busy, but it's there's a lot of energy and a lot of momentum going on. Sorry about that. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. I had the audio cut out there for just a second. But I said now as we've kind of reached the present day and even seen a bit of direction as to where things are headed over the next 6 to 12 months. Great time to kind of transition to the 2 questions I always like to ask towards the end of each episode. So we're going to jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
I would say we started a mortgage company in 2008. So I don't talk about that company because it didn't last very long. I remember after the first quarter, we had created over 714 loans. And the reason I know that number is the same guy, Rich, came into my office. And it's the first quarter of, we just started this company. And if anybody doing loans, it was a lot of loans. And he goes, "You want the good news or the bad news first?" And I said, "Well, dude, give me the good news." He's like, "We created 714 loans." And I'm thinking, Mai Tai and a beach, and we're chilling, man. This is retirement time. And I said, "Well, what's the bad news?" He goes, "We're only going to fund 12." Well, that moment we are out of business. We have lost. We lost over $1 million there. We had bought a building, and now it's going to be empty. So it's a funny story now, but I just remember thinking how calm he was about the whole thing, and his whole attitude was like, "Look, man, we gave it a shot. We didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we created what I call organized chaos. It just was the wrong time." So I guess the big learning lesson is I don't regret it because it's helped me make decisions moving forward. Really make sure that you're clear on, can you execute on the plan? Not just create a bunch of activity, which we did, but can you actually execute on it? So I guess that would be the biggest mistake. But at the same time, it's one of my favorite learning lessons because it helps me vet out other decisions like partnering with the companies I do now.
No, sounds like it's definitely a easy mistake to make, a great one to learn from, and give you some good direction for future decisions and future businesses. So the second question now that I'd like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
I would say, well, go all in. That's number one. I'm going to give you three, and I know you said one, but it's really a formula for success. Go all in. Make sure that you have full belief that you can do it, and enjoy the journey or find joy in the moment while you're doing it. I've found that to be the successful formula in the companies that have succeeded. When you truly go all in, you believe you can do it, and you find joy, no matter how hard it is, because startups can be tough. Find joy in your journey, because those are the things you'll look back on and go, wow, that sucked. And, at the same time, it was some of my favorite memories.
No, that's awesome, and I think that's some great directions and great advice and takeaways. So, well, now as we are wrapping towards the end of the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, brother. Thank you for that. Let's Go Win. If you go to letsgowin.com, it's there. I'll even, email me at jm@letsgowin.com. If you truly are a small business and you're like, dude, I want to double my revenue, let's see if we're a good fit, because I love doing that. And if we're aligned, I love the opportunity to meet people. And obviously 6 out of 33 million, it's not that, not that many that I'm going to choose. But I truly hope that if somebody's listening and you resonate with what I'm doing, I would love to have the chance to speak with you. So those would be the two best places, brother. And again, thank you for having me, man. As always, you do such a great job hosting this and asking great questions.
Well, absolutely. So no, definitely would encourage people to reach out, make any connections, support a great business, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be guests on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguests.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your business you ever need help with your startup or small business, strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat. Well, thank you again, JM, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. And wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you, brother.